Shall we play a game?
Oh, let's play. Global thermonuclear war.
Fine.
As I've gone through the Suit of Swords, I've learned a lot. My eyes have been open to a lot of things that I didn't know about myself, a lot of things that I see in the world now that I see differently, that I saw at the time, just in a totally different way. And it has really been a lot of fun, and it's been a long journey, though. I feel like I've been on the swords for a while, but I am on my last one now. I'm on the King of Swords now, and this has been no different than all the other ones. It's been something that I've really had a chance to reflect on and reflect on society about. And it really has opened my eyes to some things that I think that I want to think more about, maybe read more about, just explore a little bit more. And I recently did pick up a couple of books, and I'll share those in an upcoming video, some books that I'm reading. But I want to go ahead and get into the King of Swords here. The King of Swords is, well, first of all, looking at the writer, the RWS system here, just a traditional card. He is sitting on a throne, and he's very similar to the Queen of Swords, but his butterflies are a lot larger. And I think that that's important because I think that he does have a huge influence when it comes to changing things. He's very capable of making changes. And those changes have I think they have a much bigger impact, and they mean a lot more for society, whether that's good or bad. And he doesn't seem as welcoming. He's a bit more serious than the Queen of Swords. His arm's not outstretched. He's not welcoming anyone in. He has on more red than the Queen of Swords. So he's more into logic, more into earth, whereas blue represents more of a spiritual side. He's pretty much the mind in its purest form. And there are some problems with that. And I think that the Osho Zen really does demonstrate that with this card here. And at the bottom of it, it says control. And it's a very structured card. It is very, very stern. The fists are clenched, meaning that it's pretty much his way or no way. And I love this card. I think that it really does show that authoritative figure in a very beautiful, artistic way. Just such a beautiful card there. It even has kind of a pyramid structure to it, both at the bottom and up at the top. So that is very interesting. But I also think that the Science Tarot has a very good point as well to make about the King of Swords. And when I looked at this card originally, I didn't really think about it. I really didn't think, okay, well, what is a deeper meaning to Charles Darwin being on the King of Swords? And what it means to me is that when you think about survival of the fittest, you think about, okay, nature doesn't really care about how good of a person you are. It doesn't really care about how fast you run, how strong you are. It only cares about those things if it fits a certain circumstance or a certain environment or situation that will allow you to survive. If those things are beneficial for a point in time or for a certain situation, like I said, then it's good. Then survival of the fittest is in your favor, but it doesn't care about any pleas. It's not welcoming to your suggestions. It's not welcoming to what you think at all. So it's very similar to the King of Swords. Very just analytical, and it's going to accomplish its objective by any means. It's just natural. That's how it's going to happen. And there's not much that's going to change that. Human beings have been able to adapt in different ways. And we've been able to deal with this and kind of get around a lot of the natural selection things that would have caused other species to go extinct. But still, we are still subject to it. And It can have some devastating effects, of course, with natural disasters and things like that. And we do play a role in that as far as how we treat the environment, how we treat our planet. Now, human beings, from our perspective, natural selection is very cold, very calculating. And it's not something that we would do as humans. We would not want to go that route where we're not using our emotions and really having a balanced point of view like the Queen of Swords. And one thing I want to say here is that when I talk about the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords, I'm not talking about male or female. And I think a lot of people have mentioned this before in their videos, that this is not about male-female energy. I think it's more just about the idea, the concept behind it. And this could apply to anyone that has these sorts of beliefs, or anything that is following this type of system that is very analytical. So another card that I want to look at here is from the hexagonal elements. So this card, you can see that there's this pipe here that's very rusted out. And the hexagonal elements deals with the periodic table like I do. But bromine is very toxic. It's not only toxic to the environment, but it's toxic to human beings. And it has depleted about 50% of the ozone over the Antarctic just alone. And 30% of that is due to human activity. So we have, by using bromine, caused some big environmental problems. And we've cut back on bromine because of that. That's one of the major reasons why we have changed the way we manufacture a lot of things. Bromine was used in a lot of different ways. It's been used as flame retardant in different clothing. It's been used to clean pools. It's been used to fumigate things for pests. It's been used in World War I as a chemical warfare agent because it's an irritant to the eyes and the throat. So it's just very corrosive, just very toxic. And, you know, when I think about the King of Swords and I think about how when something is way too analytical, it can be very toxic, that's true. I'll give you some examples. So I think you may have seen the movie The Terminator. Like, just watch any of them and you get the basic premise of what I'm talking about. So with The Terminator, in that movie, the reason why human beings were in the situation that they were in was because there was a artificial intelligence called Skynet.
The Skynet funding bill is passed. The system goes online on August 4th, 1997. Human decisions are removed from strategic defense. Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. And
they gave it control. Well, it got access to nuclear weapons. It got access to all the major manufacturers of machinery. It got access to transportation systems. It got access to banks. It got access to pretty much everything when they put it online. And it did a very thorough analysis of human beings. And what it decided was that the best course of action to protect both the world, human beings, and itself was to wage war on humans.
And give me back control of my military.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
And so it did that. And because it had all of this control, it did it in a very ruthless, a very destructive way. When we apply things into our lives, sometimes we don't see the consequences. Just like with bromine, we were wrong about bromine. We were using it in our lives, but it was depleting our ozone layer. It was just destroying us. And even though we wanted to accomplish certain things with it, it just was not the right thing. It wasn't the thing that was it wasn't a healthy thing to do. And so when I think about, I mean, there's so many movies that might be good examples. Another one would be The Matrix. So what the artificial intelligence did in The Matrix was it took human beings and hooked them up to a simulation. so that they could play out their lives in a way that was not causing harm in the real world.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
They could do whatever they wanted in this simulation, but the real world was maintained, and human beings were maintained because they were not able to harm each other. So it was a win-win situation. Plus, to make it even more efficient, they were using the energy from human beings as they were in these simulations to power their machinery. And when you think about that system, it was actually a very effective way to solve that problem. But from the human perspective, just like with natural selection, it just was not, like we say, it was not humane.
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
And there's some realistic examples as well that I can give you, things that we've done as a society. We think about Germany and the Germans when they practiced eugenics, which is basically trying to clean out the gene pool of any type of genetic information that they feel is weak. So people with disabilities, people that they thought were just weaker as a race, people that they thought were just not as strong physically, they would just wipe those people out, and they did their own form of natural selection, which is called artificial selection, and they used that to advance. And from their perspective, they were just making the human race stronger. But from a human perspective, a humane perspective, a caring perspective that's putting both the mind and the heart together, that was pretty much psychotic. Because when you're doing things analytically by itself, and you're not including your emotions, you're not looking at, but you just don't have any love there, then I think that that's pretty much how psychopaths work. They can do things and complete actions that are horrible from the perspective of a normal person. And I just want to end this by saying that I am done with the swords, but I am going to do one more video on the swords, which will be concentrating on, the spirit of the swords. So overall, kind of a summary of what the swords were, my journey through them, and just to kind of wrap things up. And that'll be a little bit later, because like I said, I want to do a video on some books that I'm reading and kind of share some different things with you, and not just do these periodic table videos, because there's other things that I want to do. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. Comment below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Shall we play a game?
Oh, let's play. Global thermonuclear war.